Today, we're back with something that's been pretty long requested that I've kind of just been brushing off, and it's not really a sure thing, so depending on when you're seeing this video, this list could have changed. Judging by the title and thumbnail, you likely already have an idea of what it is, but essentially, I'm finally going to be going over, at this current point in time, and probably for at least a little while, what the rarest cars in the game are. I have a list of 5. One of them is slightly unobtainable, but the rest you can all get with a little bit of patience and trial and error in the auto show. So, without wasting any more time, let's go ahead and hop into number 1 here. I was kind of just showing off my garage. I don't know, I don't really ever get a chance to do this, but now that I'm looking at it, it's not very impressive. Okay, let's get into the number 5 spot. So at number 5, it's actually the Unicorn V2 here. I'm gonna get into the car, and we're gonna go take a look in the auction house, and I'm gonna kind of explain why this car is not as rare as some of the other ones and why it's a number 5 spot. But as we can see when we search, generally none show up. But that being said, it's a $20 million car that's not super heavily sought after. So say one were to pop up right now for 20 million, which isn't uncommon. Every couple of minutes, just like that, one tends to pop up. And it generally stays up for a little while, and it gives you enough time to purchase one if you're looking to buy it. But it is still rare enough that they're not constantly readily available on the auction house. It still has a super high price point. And I'm going to explain why I think this car is kind of so rare. So as you can see from the list here, you can't actually get this in wheel spins. You can only get it when Forza decides to re-release it to the game for players to buy. And the last time it was out was, I think, one of the first weeks of launch. So the car is becoming a lot more rare. But if Forza were to release this car next week, it would not be on this list anymore. There would be tons readily available. So that's kind of why the car is so rare right now. It hasn't been out for a little while, but let's get to number 4. At our number 4 spot, I don't even really want to try and pronounce this name here, but it's the D8 GTO. We're gonna hop into it. I actually have never driven this car around before. I just bought it right before starting this video because I know at this point in time this car is very rare and hard to get your hands on. If we go over to the auction house, there are some that show up much like the Hoonigan, but the difference with these ones is they tend to sell a little bit quicker. Because they're not 20 million credits, they're a little bit cheaper. And a lot of people that have Legendary Tuner actually are purchasing these cars right now because they can get it for 9 million credits, resell it for 20 million, and they're not super hard to get for 9 million. As you can see, this one's still up here. Now, it is still a little more rare than the Unicorn, since it doesn't sell for 20 million credits. But if we head on over to the car pass here, as you can see, it's the exact same situation as the Hoonigan. This car was actually in the playlist last week, I believe, and it's already almost up to that 20 million credits. So it's a pretty sought after car. If you don't have one and you're seeing this video the day it's released, I'd recommend buying one because it's only going to go up in price until this car releases again, which probably won't be for a while. So it is probably eventually going to work its way up from a 4th place spot to a 3rd or 2nd. But right now, since it's so new, a good amount are getting posted, and that's kind of what's giving it its lower price point. But anyways, it's gonna hit 20 million credits. Let's get on to spot number 3. And at number 3 here, we actually have our Honda Civic Coupe, the 2016 edition. I'm gonna show you guys how this shows up in the auction house if you wanted to go purchase it. So this car is actually just called the Honda Civic, and when you search for it, generally anymore, none come up. There was a period of time where there were a good amount listed for 20 million. They always sold, but now as the car's been out of the festival playlist for a while, they're not really popping up so much. People are really holding on to them because it is generally an all-around good car. It's pretty good for drifting, decently high top speed. We're gonna go take a look in the car collection here. And as we can see with the Civic Coupe, it's right here. You can collect all the Hondas. It's the same thing. Most of these cars are going to be the same thing where they're not in wheel spins at all. And the only way you can acquire them is if Forza re-releases it to the game in the festival playlist or the Forzathon shop. Sometimes they'll do stuff like that. Although with the super rare ones, they generally try to avoid it because it really does end up upsetting the community. Now again, all these cars, although they're pretty much like very high price points, 10 to 20 million credits, you could still auction snipe for them. It's probably going to take a little while since they're already rare to go up, let alone for a super low price. But yeah, this was, I believe, 1st or 2nd week the game came out. This car was in the playlist, and now it has not been since, and it's very hard to get your hands on the car. But that's enough of that one. Let's get on to number 2, then we have a runner-up, and then number 1. So, number 2, I have no idea what it is about this car specifically, if it's just the fact that it looks really cool, it's new, it's really, really, really good at drifting. This car is so much harder to get than the Civic, except it hasn't really been in the game nearly as long. We actually just saw it a few weeks ago in the playlist. But for whatever reason, this car is very, very hard to get right now, or at least I had a hard time. We're gonna head on over to the auction house to see what to search for. But it's the Toyota Celica 2003 right here, and this car, I don't know, it took me a very long time to end up getting my hands on it, and it sells for 20 million credits. Obviously, you can find it as low as 130 something thousand. Good luck, that's all I'm gonna say. It doesn't really show up at that price point very often. And let's head on over to the car pass just so we can see that it doesn't show up in wheel spins. So with the 2003 Celica, again, all of these are gonna be pretty much the exact same thing: season event, festival playlist, or the shop. Unfortunately, probably not gonna see this car in either of those things for a very, very long time. So pretty much now, right as you're seeing this video, is going to be the easiest time to go and purchase this car for a very long time. But let's get to our runner-up spot right before we hit our number 1, and that is our friend here, the 5-window Deluxe FE. If you've maybe seen the video on my channel where I got scammed trying to purchase this car, I was gonna have this car at a higher spot, or actually include it in the list, but the reason it's a runner-up is I'm gonna show you in a bit here. But essentially, you can't buy this car in the game. It does show up pretty commonly. As you can see, there's always a good amount posted. They don't sell for that much. But unless you bought the controller and redeemed the code that came with the controller, you can't actually purchase this car. It's going to tell you you're missing DLC. So pretty much the only way you could get it was buying a different thing that wasn't inside of Forza, which is why I didn't want to include it on the list. But it is still a very rare vehicle, and I wanted to just include it for the people that did get the controller and want it known that it is still a rare car. But for number 1, I had to spend a while auction sniping for one of these, but it's our friend, the Aventador SVJ. And for some reason, this car is still incredibly rare. Although they do show up pretty often like this, they get bought out instantly. This is still one of the most auction snipe vehicles in the game. Good luck getting one, even if you have the 20 million credits ready. They sell very fast. This is very similar to the 599XX Evolution in Horizon 4. People love this car. I don't really know why. Anyways, boys, that is pretty much gonna do it for us on this video. Again, I don't know, maybe my list is different for people. These are the ones that I found to be the rarest or the not rarest. Let me know if you agree with it down below, or how many of them you have. If you made it through to the end, let me know and I'll try and give you a heart. As always, we will see you boys in the next video. I'm out. Peace.